record, share. So this can be found online, by the way. So it's on Canvas. I just thought that we would do it together. And if anything loses you, A, you could go back and watch this video, or B, or both, whatever. You can also go and find the actual worked out answer key on Canvas as well. So lots of resources for you if anything doesn't go well in the next 40 minutes. So let's do it. Our first question, so this would be number 1 on the practice quiz, is going to be -22 is greater than. Make sure you're not daydreaming and make sure you're actually writing this down, because if you're not, then you're going to get behind. I'm not going to walk through it with you. Like I said, I'm going to give you a minute or so to work it out yourself. So, but I will go through it with you after you've had your time.
We need a wrap up.
So I'm not really going to take your input unless you have, I mean, obviously, if you have a question or need me to stop and explain something, or then let me know. I'm just not going to sit here and ask you. I'm just going to more be a robot and go through the problem, and then you're going to compare your work to mine. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides like this. And my next line down should say -30 is still greater than -5x. The next thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by -5, like this. And I'm going to keep everything where it's at. I'm not going to do the reversal yet. I'm going to leave x where he is, but I am going to switch my inequality sign because I divided by a negative. And then -30 divided by -5 is 6. And I know that my teacher is going to get all bent out of shape if I leave it like this. So I'm not going to leave my answer like that. I'm going to read it from x, and it's going to say correctly x is greater than 6. And when you guys graphed it, you should have a number line. You should have 6 marked with a circle that is open, and your shading should go to the side where numbers are, of course, greater. So that is question 1. Do you have any issues with that? There were 2 times in that problem where I switched my inequality sign. One of them happened during this yellow arrow. From here to here, I am going to ask you this. Why did I switch it there? Because I divided by a negative. There was another instance, follow the purple, where I switched it from purple to purple. Why did I make that switch? Yeah, it wasn't a math thing. It was no law. It just, when you say something backwards, you have to be smart about it. So good job. If you got that right, we're 1 for 1. Okay, here comes number 2. And I'll pause the video while I'm giving you guys work time. So in the video, it's going to seem like I'm not giving you work time, but I, of course, will. So here's the next one. -4/5 of x minus 9 is greater than or equal to -1. First thing I'm going to do is add 9 to both sides. Remember, this is, we're not ready for the multiplication yet. You could if you know what you're doing. It's just not generally what we do. So we're going to bring down the -4/5 x. We're going to keep our sign the same, and we're going to hope that we never make stupid mistakes. -1 plus 9 is +8. And now it's time to multiply. Remember that when you have a fraction globbed onto your variable, you want to kill it by multiplying by his inverse, his upside down, his reciprocal. So I'm going to flip the fraction over that's in my crosshairs negative. I'm going to keep it negative, but it's going to flip to 5/4 like this. So from here on out, really, it's just about the math, right? This was algebra. The rest is now just math. So I'm going to bring down my x. I am going to reverse my inequality sign because I multiplied by a negative. And then I better know how to do the fishhook. I made sure that the fishhook would work on every version of the test. So I didn't want to throw a curveball at you. Remember, if you get to a point where the fishhook doesn't work, then you just put the whole number over 1 and proceed from there. But in this case, I made sure that this would work for you. So first thing I know is that a +8 times a -5/4 is going to be a negative. So I'm going to put that right now before I forget, like a knucklehead. And then I'm going to fishhook it. I'm going to go 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Boom, done. So that's your answer. There was no need ever to switch the inequality sign there. A, because the x was already on the correct side, and B, we never multiplied. Oh, excuse me. What am I talking about? There's not a need to flip it in the second step because the x is already on the correct side. That's my bad. So we did switch it from here to here. And again, that was because of the multiplication. What's up?
Would it still be the same answer if you didn't flip the
Hey.
fraction?
What do you mean by if you didn't flip the fraction?
Uh,
2. Sorry for what I was saying. I don't know. I must have been thinking of a different problem. We did switch the sign in this problem from greater than to less than because of the multiplication by a negative. But anything else? Yeah, let's graph it. So just make a number line. Make sure you guys have -10 in the center of your number line. We will put a circle and we will color in this circle, and the less than is going to go to the left-hand side like this. Everybody good? All right, 2 down, 6 to go. You feeling perfect so far? All right, let's go number 3. Number 3 is -11x minus 3 is less than or equal to -5x plus 11. Sorry, my 5 looks like an S. I'm going to fix that real quick. All right, same drill. I'll give you a couple minutes. Resumed. To be consistent with my own directions, I'm going to move my x's to the left. I'm not going to pay any mind to whether it's going to be positive or negative. I just like my x's on the left. So when I do that, I get -6x minus 3 is less than or equal to 11, like this. And from here, my course is set. I don't have options. I'm going to add 3 like this. And -6x is then less than or equal to 11 plus 3. So again, if you're put the variable in the left person, then your work should look exactly like mine at this point. And then we realize that for the third straight problem, we actually have to divide again by a negative. So we wind up with x is greater than or equal to -7/3. Before anybody asks, do I have to reduce it? Of course you have to reduce it. That's a question that you'll stop asking here pretty soon because the answer is never going to change. Like even in May or April or next year or whatever. Yes, 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 reduce all fractions. So that's the answer. And then as far as the graphy answer is concerned, just sketch a number line, stick -7/3 in the center, put a circle, color it in, and then you just have to say, where are the numbers that are greater? Well, always to the right. And that is that. We good so far? 3 for 3? Okay. Next one is obviously going to be question 4, since it comes right after question 3. And this one is very similar to question 3. These two are cut from very identical strips of cloth. (5x plus 2 is less than -x minus 4t. Yeah, this one, absolutely no bumps in the road at all. You should have added x to both sides first, and that's going to result in 6x plus 2 is less than -40. The next step is to subtract 2 from both sides. Just smooth ride here. We get 6x is less than -42. And then we divide both sides by 6. And we don't even have to switch the sign because it's division by a +6. So we just keep it as x is less than -7. Absolutely just warm, fuzzy, cuddly little problem. There's no bite there at all. And the graph, of course, as it always will be, is just make a mark, put your boundary in the center, put a circle, do not color this one in. And then because it says is less than, we're going to go to the side where, of course, numbers get less, and that is to the left. Are we 4 for 4? Perfect so far. Okay. Starting on question 5, we now have prep work to do. So 5, 6, 7, and 8, these problems, the second half of the quiz, if you will, really hinges on your ability to distribute and combine like terms correctly. So questions 5 through 8, we're not so much ready to solve them. What we have to do is prep them and then solve them. So here's number 5. Parentheses and like terms, you bet. So this question is really now where we start to separate the A papers from the non-A papers. So step 1 has to go perfectly, and it's the distribution that will get us. So, I mean, I shouldn't say will. If it's something's it's gonna be that. So your first step, your first line should say negative 3x, watch out, plus 9. Great job if you survived that, is greater than. And then on the next side, we are distributing a negative. You can call it a -1, but distribution of a negative just means change all the signs. So I'm going to put negative x, and then I'm going to switch that to plus 15. Great job if you navigated that little minefield there. That's a big hurdle for us to do in August and September. The rest of this year and then next year and Algebra 2 and everything is just so much better if you're not, dorking around with missing negatives. So great job. After this, I'm going to move all my x's to the left. So I'm going to add x to both sides like this. And I'm going to get -2 of those x's. Plus 9 is still greater than 15. And in my next step, I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. It's a really peaceful problem also, I think. There's a little bit at the end, but by and large, it just feels pretty peaceful. And then 15 minus 9 is 6. And then in the last step, we are going to divide by -2. And just remember to be cautious, be on the lookout, hyper vigilant, like when dividing or multiplying by a negative, that should raise a red flag. So we're going to get x's, switch the sign to less than -3. And that's what the algebra answer looks like. The graphing answer is, of course, just like they all are. There's already little lines drawn on the test, by the way, so you don't have to draw the line. There'll be one just sitting there. So all you'll have to do is this part. Make a mark, label it, do your circle, don't color it in, shade to the left. Done. Any questions on number 5? Okay, when we get to number 6, we're going to change it up now, and we're going to not only have distribution, but we're also going to have some like terms. So number 6 is -7 times the quantity of x minus 1, closed quantity, plus 3x is less than or equal to -8 times the quantity x minus 4, closed quantity, minus 23. I will not tell you this specifically when you're taking the quiz, but I will tell you this, that this one is a fraction. Just because we're practice quizzing, I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm going to resume the recording, and I'm just going to do step 1. And I want to do this just to make sure that you're off on the right foot. So give me just a moment of your time. The first step should say -7x plus 7 plus 3x is less than or equal to -8x plus 32 minus 23. I'm going to repause real quick, but I just thought if something went wrong there, then you're kind of spinning your wheels. So the first step is already on the board. So do you have any questions, anybody, over the first step? Okay, so if that went well, your job now is to combine like terms, and I'll just color code these for you. Those red ones need to go together, and that is -7x plus 3x is -4x. And then I just copy down the +7. On the other side, it's these yellow ones that have to go together. So the negative 8x is just going to get copied down. 32 minus 23 is positive 9. And then, of course, I would just keep my sign the same. Having taught algebra a long time, I get it. I understand that 98% of the points that I take off throughout the year, listen to what I'm going to say, they have nothing to do with what they're paying me to teach you. It's always the rinky-dink stuff. 4 times 8 is 12. -5 plus 8 is -13. All these terrible answers, they have nothing to do with actual math that I'm paid to teach you. So just be aware of that as you go through and say, like, I'm going to try to rise above and be as perfect as I can on my basics. I'm going to add correctly, subtract, multiply, divide.
There we go, I got it.
Are we perfect? Nope. But if we strive for it, we'll get pretty close. From here, if everything has gone well, it's go time. We're in Solvi mode. And Solvi mode from here is just x's to the left, numbers to the right. So I'm going to add 8x to both sides like this. And I like this because I get a positive x. That means that's one thing off my list to worry about. Here in a moment when I divide, I'm not going to have to divide by a negative, which is good. But I do see, and I hope you see why there's a fraction coming down the pike. And that's because I cannot divide 2 by 4. So what often happens is in this line of work, I see a lot of people who do this. A lot of ninth graders, but this, right? And I get it. Like the human brain sees a 4 and it sees a 2 and it sees a division sign and goes, oh, that's a 2, right? You gotta overcome that and say, I know I can't divide 2 pizzas by 4 people and with a straight face say that everyone gets 2 whole pizzas. It just doesn't even make any sense, right? So when the smaller number is on top, then we understand that we have to just have a fraction. And 2 divided by 4 just reduces to 1/2. Presto, final answer. Got it?
Yeah.
All right, so then the graph is, of course, predictably just a mark. Make sure you label your mark, put a circle, color it in. Less than goes to the left, like this. Perfect still. 6 for 6. All right, 2 to go. And for these, I did set myself a timer. I have exactly 6 minutes to do each one, so I cannot give you too much worky time. I need to kind of get a cooking. So this is question number 7. 12 minus 5 times the quantity of 2x minus 3, close quantity, is less than or equal to 7x minus the quantity 9x minus 8, close quantity, minus 9. All right, just step 1 incoming. So give it a look and make sure you're on the right track. Our first line should say 12 minus 10x plus 15 is less than or equal to 7x minus 9x plus 8 minus 9. All right, pausing again, finish her up and get going. So here we go. On the left-hand side, I see a 12 and a plus 15 that need to be put together to make 27, and then I'll copy down the minus 10x. On the right-hand side, I see a 7x and a minus 9x that need to go together to make negative 2x. And I also see an 8 and a minus 9 that go together to make minus 1. And of course, here we are at the crossroads where it's time to move things to the left and other things to the right. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Bless you. And so when I cross those out, I'm going to be left with 27 minus 8x's is less than or equal to negative 1. Next step, I'm going to subtract 27 from both sides like this. And I'm going to be left with negative 8x is less than or equal to negative 28. And in the final step, I am going to divide both sides by negative 8. And so when all is said and done, I wind up with X all by itself. Oof, that was a lot. And I am going to switch my inequality sign because of the purple numbers are negative. So is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 4, resulting in a 7 and a 2, like that. So, and if you divide them both by 2, that's like starting to reduce the fraction, but then you're left with 14 and 4, and it's your job to go, oh, those can still be divided by 2 again. It's quicker just to hit it once with a 4. Graph, of course, is, as it always has been, make a mark, label it, and then put a circle. Make sure you color in this particular circle. Greater than means to the right. That leaves us with problem number 8. And this will be the last one. Okay, on we go. Last one. Question number 8. You might want to leave yourself some room. This one's a little bit lengthy. So here we go. So we have x plus 3 times the quantity of x minus 5 minus 4 times the quantity of 2x minus 1 is greater than negative 19 minus the quantity of 2x plus 4 plus 2 times the quantity of 8x minus 3. I almost didn't leave myself enough room, but there it is. And this right here, I'm going to make it yellow, is a 4. My handwriting went a little short there, but that yellow thing is a 4. All right, pausing. Last one. Zoom recording. Here it goes. Real quick, like do a quick comparison. Make sure you and I are on the same page. Your first line after, of course, copying the problem should say, here we go, x plus 3x minus 15 minus 8x, watch out, plus 4. Great job if you're nailing it so far, is greater than negative 19 minus 2x minus 4 plus 16x minus 6. Say again? It's a whopper, isn't it? You might want to come along for the ride. I'm going to color code as I always do. On the left side, x plus 3x makes 4x. 4x minus 8x makes negative 4x. I'm also going to combine my negative 15 and my plus 4, which makes negative 11. So great job if you got the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to color code my x's, my negative 2x and my plus 16x come together to make 14x. And then all of these green ones, negative 19 minus 4 is negative 23. Negative 23 minus 6 more is negative 29. Kudos if you got this far. And now it's go time. It's time to actually solve the problem. So I'm going to subtract 14x from both sides like this. And that's going to get me to a place where I can say now negative 18x minus 11 is greater than negative 29. And it's at this point where you're like, this is feeling pretty good. I'm going to add 11 to both sides. And maybe it didn't quite happen yet, but it's at this point probably where you feel good. You get negative 18x is greater than, and then you figure this out and you go, hot dog, negative 18. And then when we divide both sides by negative 18 at the very end, then we wind up with x is, switch the sign, x is less than 1. Great job if you tackled that behemoth. The graph, I might as well just put it on here to make it official, is a mark and a label at 1, a circle that is open, and a graph that goes to the left. Quiz tomorrow. Make sure you come with your completed and graded practice quizzes 1, 2, and the one from today. And if you have any questions, make sure you get in here either today after school or tomorrow for flex and get them answered before the quiz.